talked about studies that absolutely show that colony collapse disorder is linked to microwave radiation exposure. So the bees are suffering from a number of things. We cannot let our politicians conveniently ignore microwave radiation effects upon the whole colony and the disaster that ensues where the workers leave, the pollinators leave, the queen bee dies, the babies, the little ones die, and the deal is done. Back to you, Jerry.
I came here only just under 3 years ago, and the very first meeting I attended was a Wi-Fi meeting, and Steve was orchestrating that. And from there, my life has changed dramatically. And one of the things that I did, and I want to share with you my story with BC Hydro, and I spent an awful lot of time researching. I am a researcher by training, so I know how to read research documents. So I phoned up BC Hydro and I said, I do not want one of these things. I had all my signposts, etc. And they said, sorry, sir, it's compulsory. And I said, well, listen, are you recording this? And they said, yes. And I said, thank you. I'm recording it too. And I have a question to ask of you. I haven't got all the documents that BC Hydro has ready. Where do I get them? And he told me. And I said, now I have some documents that BC Hydro doesn't have on their site that speaks of the opposite side. Would you like me to send you those? And he said, no. And I said, you're okay with your answer? This is being recorded. And he said, yes. And one thing about the research I just want to mention, there's a lot of bad research out there that supports both sides of the argument. Not all research is good research. But when you sit down and really have a good look at it all, do your due diligence on who is the researcher. There is an overwhelming amount of research, in my opinion, in support of doing away with the Wi-Fi, particularly the smart meters. So I want to thank all the people like Steve and others who got me interested, and people like Una who keep me going, and all of you. I got pictures of all of you today, and you're all having a darn good time, so way to go. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jerry. That's really awesome. So we are fighting for rights of choice for everybody. Whether you said in the beginning, I love smart meters, give me one, or whether you said I never want one for the rest of my life, it doesn't matter. We are fighting for democratic choice, human rights, civil rights. What kind of country do we want to live in where a government can force a poison into our very homes? It's microcell towers that are going to be put on those poles like that. It's RF range extenders, which is part of the smart grid. It is smart meter collectors, which go on the power poles. We're talking about putting microcells into the trees, so the tree itself becomes a cell tower. When will this end? Well, let me tell you when it will end. It will end when people wake up and say, absolutely not. Corporate control of our politicians is such that the message is hidden, the truth is hidden, the lies are propagated, the lies sprinkle our communities and our lives. We're taking back the truth, we're taking back our towns, and yes, I agree with Steve, and I agree with Jerry, because this is political, and we need our politicians to get on side of the people, not the corporations. How can we do that? Number one, in this town there is a public cell tower siting policy getting worked on. Apparently, the council wants the opinions of the public. Have you been asked? Have they taken out ads in the newspapers? Have they put together a public forum? No, they haven't. It is lip service. It is not the real deal. They're not operating from truth and integrity. I'm not trying to slam all these lovely council members, but this is a really big issue. We need them to stand up on this one for the people. The other thing is, if you haven't joined the civil lawsuit against BC Hydro that Citizens for Safe Technology has launched, then please join it, because that's the way to control government out of control, is you need a higher authority. So that's the judge. All the documents are on our website. We also filed the human rights class action, which was fully accepted by the Human Rights Commission, and it's for people with electrosensitivity. If you have a heart condition, if you have a medical implant, a defibrillator, a pacemaker, a deep brain implant, you have every right to go to the Human Rights Commission and file your own action against BC Hydro for forcing a dangerous device on your house. If you have seizures, if you have epilepsy, if you have Parkinson's, if you have any of those things, take care of yourself, go and file a human rights discrimination that you've been forced to have a smart meter against your will. There's things you can do, people, we've got to do them. Because we're on a slippery path, and that slippery path says loss of rights, loss of civil rights, loss of human rights, loss of democratic rights.
Yeah, that letter represents more than just one. They multiply it by about 1,000. In other words, they know that there's probably another 1,000 people that think like you, and they just haven't bothered to write a letter. So it just shows the power of that letter. Now, when you send an email, I believe they multiply it by about 100.